Hello everyone! So up until this point in our tutorial, we have been using variables all the time. But all the variables we have worked with so far can only hold one value at a time. What if we want to work with multiple values? For that, we're going to need to use array. An array allows you to store and work with multiple values of the same data type. In this video, we're going to learn about how to define an array, how to access and manipulate array elements, and at the end of the video, we're going to have a brief introduction on two-dimensional and three-dimensional arrays. There are a lot to talk about in this video, so let's get started. So as you can see, now I'm inside of a new project called arrays. And first, let me show you how to define an array. So let's start here. So the syntax for defining arrays are like this. It's start with the type of the array and name of the array, and followed by a brackets. So let's try this. Say I want to define an array of integer. So I'll say int, and then name I'll say numbers, and followed by brackets, and then semicolon. This way we tell the Java compiler we're going to use an array, and the name of the array is numbers, and the type of the array is int. Okay? But this statement itself is not enough to for our Java compiler to create the array for us. We still need to tell the compiler how many elements we're going to have in our array for it to allocate memory spaces for the array. So next, we need to tell the compiler how many elements we're going to have in the array. So the syntax for that is like this. Name equals new type, and then brackets, and inside of the brackets is the number of elements. Okay? So in our example, the name is numbers, and equals new type is int, and brackets. For example, we want to have 6 elements in our array, so I'll say 6 and end of the statement. So these are the two steps that are required to define arrays in Java. First is to declare names and types, and then the second step is to allocate memory spaces. Okay? And we can actually combine these two into one and do declaration and memory initialization all in one step. So let me show you how to do it. First, let's comment out these two statements. And then, in order to combine these two, we're going to say int, and then followed by brackets, and then the name of the array, numbers, and equals new int brackets in 6. This way, we successfully combine these two into one single statement with initialization and declaration. Now let's take a look at another example. Say you already know the content of the array. Okay, you can just say declaration and initialization and give the content to the array at the same time. So let's see how to do that. This time, I'm going to use a character array. So I'll say char, and then brackets, and then followed by the name. I'll say characters. Okay, equals new and char, and then brackets, and then curly braces. Inside of the curly braces is the content of the array. Okay, we're going to have A, and then B, and then C. Okay, there are 3 elements in the array, and they are A, B, and C. The name is characters, and the type is char. Okay, and then end of the statement. So if you're doing initialization like this, there is no need to specify the number of elements in the brackets, right? We don't have to write 3 here because we're already specifying the content in the curly braces, okay? So after initialization, let's talk about how to accessing array elements. So we access array elements by using its index. And in Java, array index always start at 0. So for example, our characters array here at index 0 is our element A, at index 1 is our element B, and at index 2 is our element C. So let me write this out. Array index start at 0. Okay? So the syntax for accessing array elements is like this. So you say the name of the array and followed by brackets, and inside of brackets is the index that you want to access. Okay? And let's see an example. Let's print out the first element in the characters array. Okay, let's try. System.out.println, and the name is characters and brackets, and I want the first element, which is index 0. So let's see the result. It should give us letter A, which it is. So if I want the next element, I will say index 1. This should give us B. Let's run it. There it is, B. We can also change the content of the array based on the index. Okay? Say I want to give our numbers array some content. I can say numbers and then brackets. I want the first element in numbers to be 8 and the second element in numbers to be 99. And let's print them out. System.out.println numbers brackets 0, and then another system.out.println and numbers brackets 1. Okay, and let's see if I get 8 and 99. Yeah, there it is, B, 8 and 99. There is also a very common method that we often use when dealing with arrays, which is to get the total number of elements in an array. The method is length. So let me show you how to do that. So if I want to output the total elements in array numbers, I can do this. System.out.println, so numbers dot length. Okay, this will give us the total element number in arrays, in numbers. Sorry. So let's comment out all the printout statement and only left the last one, and let's see the output. Now it gives us 6, which means numbers have 6 elements, right? And I can do this to characters as well. Sorry, characters. Okay, let's run it. I should give us 3 because there are 3 elements in characters. Yes, there it is. So with this, we can actually do a loop and print out everything inside of an array. So if we want to loop through an array, we will use the length of the array as the termination condition for our loop, right? So I'll use for loop. So for integer I is 0, and as long as I is not less than let's use character. So characters length, we want to keep looping and increment I, and inside of the loop, we just simply print out everything inside of characters. So system.out.println characters, angle brackets. Inside of angle brackets is the index. Okay? So after running this, we should be able to see everything inside of characters will be printed out. And let's take a look. There it is, A, B, and C. So this loop will start at index 0 and print out the elements at index 0, which is A. And then it will increment the index, and the index becomes 1, and it compares if it's less than the total elements in the array, which is not, and then print out the current element, which is B. And then increment index again, and then compare, right? Rinse and repeat. And after you loop through all the elements, it will the index will becomes greater than the total length of the array. So we stop the loop. So now we talk about how to initialize arrays, how to access array elements, and how to loop through arrays. I want to take a little bit of time to talk about different types of arrays. So as you can see, numbers and characters, these are what we call a one-dimensional array, okay? Which each element in an array just a single value, right? And we can have two-dimensional arrays and three-dimensional arrays as well. So for example, I can have, in order to define a two-dimensional array, I can say this, right? Integer, brackets, and numbers, right? Equals new integer, I'll say 10 and 10, right? You can think of two-dimensional arrays like a matrix or a row and columns. So the first brackets is the row number. So we have total of 10 rows. And the second brackets is the total number of columns we have, right? So for this, we have a 10 by 10 matrix, right? And for like a three-dimensional array, right, we have brackets, numbers equals same thing, and just brackets. And we have 10, 10, and 10, right? When we're dealing with like graphs and matrix and like 3D stuff, we may need something like this, okay? But for the most part, we're going to stick to the one-dimensional array, which is good enough.